I'm so grateful for the kind invitation from Coptic Solidarity to share my story and my thoughts about Christian persecution and freedom of religion. I am very honored to be here with Mr. Nock Samis and Dr. Soma and Mrs. Mainza and Nina Shir. Thank you all for your efforts in defending human rights and Christian persecution. All the world witnessed the peaceful revolt in Sudan from December 13th up until April 6th, when millions of Sudanese protest in front of army headquarters until State al-Bashir had to step down on April 11th after 30 years in power. Unfortunately, the human rights violation committed after April 11th were more than all the violations committed over almost 5 months of protesting before al-Bashir. Only on June 3rd, Sudan's forces, including the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, which are Janjaweed, have carried out repeated attacks to disrupt peaceful protests. Report from the Central Committee of Doctors indicated that more than 100 civilians were killed and more than hundreds more injured. Over 40 bodies were dumped into the river by the Janjaweed. There have been also multiple eyewitness accounts that execution of unarmed civilians fleeing protest sites in several Khartoum's residential area, as well as Darfur, and also counts of over 700 women and men being raped by the men in uniforms. A Christian sister from Sudan, she shared a message. She lives here near Washington, D.C., asking for a prayer for her family and relatives in Sudan. Unfortunately, Sudan is not an exception in the Muslim world. The application of Islamic Sharia law makes the segregation and persecution of religious minorities legally encouraged. It gives a license to despots like al-Bashir to oppress minorities and silence opposition. And I will add some short comments about what's mentioned before in the panel about Sharia law and the education system. We study Islam because if you did not study and discrimination, if you did not pass the Islamic test, you are not going to be able to move to the next grade. Children, first grade, second grade, you sit Christian and a Muslim next to each other. You will be tough to kill the infidels, who are Christian or non-Muslims. You will be tough not to eat their food. As a Muslim girl, your friend is a Christian next to you. She had a brother. If you fall in love with her brother, you can marry him, unless if you convert to Islam. Start from the education system, from the law. If you say, I support religion freedom, I respect the religion freedom, but your constitution, your law is according to Sharia law, it's a lie. Sharia law is a law of domination and raw power and persecution to non-Muslims. In 2013, I was jailed and sentenced to death and flogging because according to Sharia law, I was legally Muslim because I was born to a Muslim father. They said I also committed adultery by marrying a Christian man since I was legally Muslim by the law and according to Sharia law. I was pregnant when I was put in jail. My son was 9 months with me. In prison, they put a heavy chains on my feet. And Martin, my son, he just learned to walk. And he would run everywhere. So, what's my crime? How can I explain this to him? Every day, 1 or 2 children died inside the prison. There were no clean water, and sometimes there was no water at all. The food was terrible. Prisoners slept on the floor and were harassed by the mosquitoes. They treated me different after my case got public attention. And every day, there is a Muslim imam came to speak with me about Islam and read Quran over me because they were thinking that I was under black magic, spelled by black magic. They're thinking that there's some group on the church going around and do magic for the Muslim girls and other in the community so they can become a Christian. And they sent me to the doctor, to the hospital, to test me for mental illness. And the judge stated that if there's something, he will drop off any charge against me. My daughter was born in May 27, 2014, in Sudanese prison cell. Because I was chained and I couldn't move freely, I was concerned that she might have been injured in the birth and wouldn't be able to walk. And my daughter, Maya, was on my prison file. They can call her unknown. She have no name. And one of there was plan for my children is according to my sentence. If I didn't accept Islam, I will be executed. And then the judge of my marriage is invalid. We married as a child, but under Sharia law, my marriage is invalid. So my children their father have no right for the custody for them. So after my execution, they will go to the orphanage. So the plan is at that time to get their immigration, their citizenship as fast as we can, because Martin is almost 10 years, he's 18 months. So if he turned 10 years, according to the law, he can't stay with me in prison. So he has to go to the orphanage. So there's many children inside the prison, but after 2 years, they can stay with their mothers. If there's family members, they can come and take them. If there is not family members, they will send them to the orphanage. So under Sharia law, my children have no family members because they are adulterial children. But God had another plan. Shortly after Maya's birth, the Vatican and Italian embassy also negotiated my release for asylum to Italy. And U.S. Congress created a resolution to give me, to urge Sudanese government to release me and secure visa for me and my children. I was not alone. Many women face various sentences, all in the name of Sharia law. I have heard theories in America about how Sharia law is not shameful to non-Muslims, but this is a lie. Despite the Islamic designation of non-Muslims, or those who are allowed to reside in Islamic country by paying tax or actual treatment of a Christian or Jews is far worse. They are excluded socially, educationally, and employment. The status of non-Muslims of Sharia, one of the permanent and persecution. There is no freedom of religion under Sharia law, because Sharia law is about control. It seeks to keep people from good job exercising their religion, and it's aimed to destroy families. Under Sharia law, Christian students cannot attend or even walk into certain parts of universities and schools because they are considered unclean. And there's some type of specialized in the medical school, like OBGYN, you can attend if you are a Christian. If you are a woman and you are caught driving with your head uncovered accordingly to Sharia public law, you can be pulled over and police can open your shirt in a public to expose your chest. As long as there is Sharia law, there is no freedom of religion. Even for other Muslims, like my lawyer in Sudan, they were Muslims, yet all they have to flee the country after they defend me in the court. One of them, he have to flee the country at night after his house burned down in the middle of the night. He's in UK right now. The Muslim man who bailed me out of prison had to leave the country for helping me as an infidel. All of this happened to Muslims because they provide assistance to Christianity in an Islamic state whose constitution and law were developed according to Sharia law, to Islamic Sharia law. My warning to America is not to believe in the lie that Sharia is acceptable, or in Islamic countries there is respect for non-Muslims, or there is respect for freedom of religion. Many Muslims in my way, this has happened, and if this happens, my children will experience the same things that I went through, and yours as well. Sharia law is application to Christian and non-Muslim community. I know I have a friend here in this room who have supported me in a prayer and many other ways when I was in prison. I hope we will continue and commit ourselves to no longer being silent when we hear of Christians being persecuted and killed for their faith. We must stand with them and support them as best as we can. Continue to pray for them and be their advocate. With our elected representative, government like Ether, I think we are all called for time like this. Thank you, and God bless you.